Hey everybody, Assalamu alaikum. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the notify button so you know when you're getting new episodes. And we just want to grow this project. I thank you in advance. Without further ado, let's get it rolling. The Shout Out Show. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, family. I'm Preacher Moss, host of the SOS or Shout Out Show. Greetings, welcome. Thank you for so much for coming on the show this last day of 2020. I know a lot of people are saying 2020 get out of here. A lot of people saying 2020 was a time of challenge, blessings, heartache, challenges. We got to find out who we were as a people, who we were as a country, who we were as spiritual entities. And we're going to talk about that today in the 2020 wrap-up show. I thought about having guests on the show, but I thought, for 2020 wrap-up, one of the things I really wanted to focus on was just having a really, really concise conversation with myself and the people who normally come on the show. I always talk about the people who come on the show for the first time. We appreciate you. I normally give a long breakdown of welcome to the show, and I do want to welcome you to the show, but this is different. This is the end of the year, and celebrate. I guess you can celebrate the end of the year depending who you are, but what I do celebrate is that we're still standing. I do celebrate that for everything that's happened, we still have some solid footing on things we believe in, the things that are really important, our core values, not just core values, but the things that we take in the battle, the things that we take in the difficult times, the circumstances that allow us, brothers and sisters, to say, you know what, whether today was the last day of 2020 or today was the first day of 2020 and tomorrow be the first day of 2021, we're still standing. So I will do it. If you're coming on the show for the first time, I want to celebrate the fact that there's been a group of people who've been coming on this show pretty much every day, repeatedly. They have a routine. We have a relationship. This is a platform show. When I say a platform show, it means that I have relationships with people who come on the show, either from the stage or from the show, or just people poking in and saying, hey, how are you? Or, hey, this is what I'm going through. Or, hey, you know what? I'm from Toronto. I'm from Canada. I'm from Indonesia. I'm from Australia. And what happens in that space is that we begin to build community. And that's part of what I want to talk about in 2020. 2020 has some unusual and strange twists. I will not even go into trying to figure out exactly what happened. If you ask me what at the beginning of 2020, what I was thinking, I can tell you I was not thinking COVID. I was not thinking an economy crash. I was not thinking Kobe Bryant dying. I was not thinking 300-some thousand people dying from something we can't even see, a virus you can't touch, a virus you can't smell, a virus you just can't, you can't hear. It was a virus, brothers and sisters, that comes from the unseen. In religious terms, they call it al-ghaib, but it was from the unseen. And I will tell you something about this virus coming from the unseen. It was humbling. It didn't matter whether you had money, whether you were rich, poor, well-educated, big house, homeless, sober, alcoholic, it didn't matter. This was a virus that let you know, as much as you think you're in control, you're not in control. So, let me welcome people who are coming on. If you're new, I normally don't do this, but just go to the comment section. If you're new, go to the comment section. I'm going to give you your shout-outs because I'm going to do something that's called Be Brief, Brother, because I want people to enjoy the last vestiges of 2020. So going down, we have our Consultant producer, we have Sister Sultana Whitfield. I want to give a shout out to Sister Ree, who normally comes on the show, but she's taking care of Auntie up in Michigan. Ree, wherever you are, Happy New Year. Auntie, Happy New Year. As well, Miss Eleanor, who is a regular on the show. Miss Eleanor, I want you to have an incredible Happy New Year and an even more successful 2020. Sister Ika, oh wait, she's already into 2021 right now, I believe. Your first day, it's New Year's Day in Indonesia. Congratulations. May Allah continue to bless you, expand your heart, and give you his mercy. Well, Altaf, I know it's going to be quiet in Toronto this year. Got a lot of stuff going on, but I respect Toronto. I respect Canada because when it came to this crisis, Canada overall thought of its people, the wellness of its people, the overall health commitment of its people, and the ways that they did things to subsidize people losing their jobs, not being able to work, restaurants closing. It was admirable. I wish just across the border we had done it the same way, but we didn't. To my brother, Danielle Thomas, wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You know, brother, I appreciate you pushing me and keeping me on my game and making sure that I was all right in those quiet times when things got a little dark with COVID and I had to figure it out. I appreciate you just listening to me, not judging me, encouraging me, and reminding me that this thing was temporary, that we've been blessed in so many other ways that it's all right. So you're not working here, you're not working there, you're not doing stand-up, but we had so many other things. And I want to appreciate you out loud, along with everybody else. That reminded me, even with the shout-out show, it just reminded me, you know what? There's so many other opportunities in life. Yes, you're gonna take your lessons from death, but there's so many opportunities in life if we just stop and pay attention. Sister Christy Santiago, we pray that in 2021 that your health is full and robust and your back is well and your spirits are up, because it's important. If one thing I pull out of 2020, it's about you better make sure that you are in good health, that you're eating the right things, that you're getting enough sleep, that you're staying away from stressful situations. You know, these are the things that matter. Now, watch this. 2020, still doing. Answer the phone! Because that's going to happen in 2021, too. My mom's still going to let that phone ring. God bless. So let's go to the wrap up. 2020 was interesting, to say the least. I kind of limped into 2020, not feeling well, suffering from an upper respiratory infection, which would eventually, by the end of January, I'd be attacked by COVID. At the time, there was no COVID, no COVID-19. We didn't know anything about that, no novel coronavirus. No, I just thought I had a really, really bad flu. And it turned out a whole lot of other people realized they had a really, really bad flu. So I want to give thanks that I was able to recover, because a lot of people were not able to recover. They didn't come back to a situation where they were 100% whole or 100% what they used to be. Even myself, being honest, I didn't really come back to 100% of myself, but I'm happy for the 95 to 94%. I'm always happy. All praise is due to that. The year was strange because one of my basketball icons passed away. I'm talking about Kobe Bryant. And the reason why it was difficult with Kobe Bryant passing away, brothers and sisters, because I began to see the man grow. In life, sometimes you have opportunities for second acts. He had an opportunity for a second act, and the life and the opportunities and the expectations were large. They were accessible, and we can see. And I don't know if I can properly relay it to you, but when you see somebody who's been great over here and they have a chance to be great over here, you become fans all over again. I was probably a bigger fan of Kobe Bryant off the court as a girl dad, more so than when he was on the court, because I saw the determination in him, and he wanted to make sure he was doing effective things to promote the wellness of children. Well, that's always going to be my thing. the wellness of children. As a former teacher, I may have done a lot of good things in the comedy business and the Muslim community as a comedian. Nothing really compares, nothing compares to being able to teach a child a skill, a lesson, a word, a habit, a value. Nothing really ever compares to that, except when you teach your own children that. So, following that, we started getting these notes from Wuhan, China. I remember the small notes, about something, a little virus, 300 people are sick, 400 people are sick, 500 people are sick. I don't know how many of you thought about this, but I've always thought, what would happen? What would happen if a virus got to the shores of the United States? Now, arrogance and, and evidence of arrogance before then, we had viruses that threatened us, but not like this. We normally were able to keep them in the countries where they originated. Ebola virus, for example. Ebola virus stayed in Africa. And you can credit Obama and the Obama administration. They figured out how to give them enough money to make sure that that virus didn't come over here. But it was interesting because as the year went on, people began to become more sick. And the question for 2020 was, what would happen if everybody got sick at the same time? Meaning that the balance of people, I'm saying balance or on balance of people, was so large that we couldn't treat people, that we couldn't readily, if you will, give them medication, get them healed, get them back to work. And that thing started playing on and on and on. By the end of February, I had a show that was scheduled in March. And I called the brother, Brother Lufiki, good brother, up in Detroit. And I canceled the show. Because at that time in March, we really didn't know what it was. All I know was, A, I didn't want to contribute to anybody getting sick. And B, I didn't want to get sick myself because I just come off this, whatever this thing was. Now, the thing that troubles me, and I hope this is not something that will recur in 2021. The story of 2021 is the arrogance, incompetence, and indifference for people's lives. There's never been a time in American history, even the Vietnam War, World War I, World War II, has there been an indifference from human life where I don't worry about the health of my brother or my sister. Even if I'm sick, I'm not worried about their health. I'm not worried about preventing them from being sick. And it would have never been an issue until the economy got sick too. Because people have to remember, those invisible people that make sure your stores are open and your trash cans are empty and your grass is cut and these invisible people sometimes, those people, they're not invisible. Those are real lives. And when that affected the overall status quo of business in the United States, then the politicians reveal who they were. And when I say reveal who they were, this is nothing new. I've called it politricks. I've renamed it politics for the people. But it's very scary, brothers and sisters, that in 2020, in the information age, in the age of technology, it didn't matter that people who were in their minds not right, in their minds not compassionate, in their minds irrationally logical, showed up every day to make sure that reason, truth, sincerity, and compassion were never to be applied across the board. And let's think about the people we lost to injustice. Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor. Way before that, Miss Bland. We had all of these people who had passed before. Not to mention the Tamir Rices or the Trayvon Martins. All of these issues of injustice. And then we had to see it in color, in real time. A lot of people, when George Floyd was murdered, I don't say killed, he was murdered. When George Floyd was murdered, people watched in real time somebody lose their life. Somebody lose their life. A peace officer, someone we elect to uphold the community trust, kept his knee on a man's neck and choked him out. And the arrogance of it was that there was still due process for a murder that happened right in front of us. An assassination, a hit. It was the same scenario of the days of the slave when they call it buck breaking. I won't go into the details of breaking a buck, but it was disgusting. It was horrible. But we watched that man. And it's the video before George Floyd is murdered that lends, brothers and sisters, hear what I'm saying? That lends this idea or the question, where is humanity when you need it? My heart went out to George Floyd, not when he was on the ground, of course when he was on the ground, but it's when they took him out of the car. And I saw a black man fearing for his life, telling the police, I've had a relationship with law enforcement. I've been shot before. Please don't shoot me. He didn't say choke me out. He said, please don't shoot me. He was in fear of his life. And in that space, the law enforcement, the law authorities couldn't look at this man and go, he's been through something. He's scarred. This is not a natural reaction. I did a show earlier today, and the moderator talked about George Floyd thing. He talked about how the people who owned the store, somehow they had some, they were doing the right thing. Look, I don't know about the right thing and wrong thing. But here's the facts. You have to own up to what that situation was. You have to own up to your part of it, your culpability. That it was a black man, and I don't even know if they ever figured out if the $20 bill was counterfeit or not. Do you hear what I'm saying, brothers and sisters? Nobody even told us, was the bill actually counterfeit? And then from that, the protests, the Black Lives Matter movement. Been very harsh and critical about Black Lives Matter because it was not about black lives. If you go and read the fine print, it's about black trans lives, LGBTQ. Now listen, everybody got a right to wake up in the sunshine and take in air. But you cannot, brothers and sisters, profit and leverage other people's pain, other people's goodwill. And I say other people's pain, other people's goodwill, because what I didn't like about the Black Lives Movement that everybody jumped on was it ignored aspects of black family, ignored aspect of the black movements that came before them, ignored the aspects that it was anti-family. And then we celebrated this thing. We celebrated this thing. And we created a model where now people literally who were not black now had an opportunity to decide whether black lives actually matter. 2020 was the year of the Karens, brothers and sisters. The year of the Karens. A white female victimhood. Now, before I go any further, This is not for me to say white women are not victims. Of course they are. That's not the point. It is misplaced victimhood. And that victimhood was wrapped up with white privilege to say that my virtue, whether I'm right, wrong, a liar, or deceiving, still has sway and it takes precedence over that person of color, whether black or Latino or Native American. And brothers and sisters, that was our America for quite a while. Karens. We have new words like allyship. We have new words like victimhood. They're not new words, they're just being revisited. I'm sorry. But we have these situation scenarios that have lent to what I'm going to talk about, and I talked about yesterday. All these distractions, all these protests, all of these uprisings, police brutality, all of these things come down to one thing. At the correct point in time, without being prompted or forced, when will people stand up for the truth? When will people say, that's the truth? My grandfather said, well, boy, here's the way it is in life. He said, there's the truth and whatever else you want to make up. There's the truth and whatever else you want to make up. Will we get away in 2021 from devaluing the truth? Maybe we ought to have a truth commission. Maybe we should have a truth regulatory body where when people can't tell the truth over a certain amount of time, they should not be allowed to be around people who can tell the truth. I'm saying segregation for all the liars. Put all the liars in one spot. Let them lie to one another. Put a fence around them, if you will. Put a fence around all the liars. And the security guards to make sure the liars don't get out should be the people who don't want to wear their mask. It should be the people that believe that Donald Trump is still the president, he didn't lose. And put them around as security guards. And when they think about going out, somebody should call for them. And when they get sick, brothers and sisters, no Blue Cross, no Blue Shield, no Kaiser, none of that. Give them bleach. Give them detergent. Because the one thing I know about a liar is a liar will keep a lie going. Now, 2020 did have some heavy losses for myself and my family. I want to shout out Ishrat Siddiqui. I want to shout out my big brother Reginald Kitchen. I want to shout out John Witherspoon. I want to shout out Self-Loving Man's Minister Muhammad, Michael Muhammad out of New York. I want to shout out Kobe Bryant. I want to shout out Shabadoo from Breaking. I want to shout out all of these people who in some way, brothers and sisters, in some way, touch not me, but everybody. Now, if you have somebody you want to shout out, put it in the comment section. This is your time. I'm going to take a couple extra minutes. Is there somebody from your core, your circle of influence, somebody you love or somebody that loved you? Do you want to shout them out today? This is the time to do it. We don't worry about commercial breaks. We won't worry about ratings. We just people here having a conversation. Just people having a conversation. Like I said, in 2021, I'm not making any predictions, brothers and sisters. Any predictions. And honestly, my only expectation is that hopefully I'll be around for part of it. Because nothing's guaranteed. And if we're really, really, really going to be honest, really, really, really going to be honest, what was 2020? What was 2020? 2020 was another year. It was just a year that had challenges. How is 2020 different from 1929 when Wall Street crashed, or the Vietnam War, or the housing crisis. How different is it? Outside of, you know what? The losses were tangible. And check this out, brothers and sisters. How different is our 2020 from several years ago when you had Rwanda or the Rohingya Muslims, or the my brothers in China, the Muslims in China, or those who starved and dealt with famine, or those who dealt with all kind of oppression. You see, the fact of what I'm saying is 2020 was difficult, but in truth, we were a little spoiled. The United States never had to go through that. The United States never had to go through that. And we watch folks buckled under the pressure of now you have challenges. Now you've got to figure it out. See, because at the beginning of 2020, when we got into the beginning of the COVID, and I've said this before, somewhere along the line, you have to find a silver lining that has an opportunity. You have to find a reason to get up in the morning. A reason to get up in the morning, a reason to work all day, a reason to lay down, and then a reason to get up in the morning again. 2020 was not a time for criers and weak people, complainers, deceivers, liars, grifters. It wasn't a time for that. But you see the liars and grifters now. You know who they are. And if you get anything into 2021, it's like those people can't be allowed in our public spaces, making decisions about money, decisions about war, decisions about technology, decisions about education. 2020 was a year where we literally had to weigh the health of our children, sending them to school in the places that we knew were infected, sending them into places where we knew they weren't safe, sending them into places where we didn't know what was going to happen to our children. The people who lied to us were the ones trying to give us information now. We have to sit now and figure out when we're going to take a vaccination. Is the vaccine going to work? I've said it before, I'm hesitant. I've always been leery of a person who's worked so hard not to give me something, then all of a sudden they want to give it to me. It's unnatural. That's why the African American, the black man in America has always had a problem with freedom in America. Because we had to wait for somebody to say we were free, and the ridiculous part of it, we were already free, mentally free, spiritually free. Lincoln didn't free the slaves. He just realized we were leaving any damn way. And just that arrogance of trying to have precedent over people. Dave Chappelle did a thing called Unforgiven. Unforgiven. And he has a part where he talked about he felt wrong and he tried to mess up another man's hustle. And the guy grabbed him and said, "You never mess up my man when he's trying to eat." Trying to eat. Well, I'm telling you in 2021, brothers and sisters, don't let these politicians mess you up, dissuade you, deter you, distract you when it's time for you to eat. And if need be, I don't say take the law into your own hands, take the logic of the law into your own hands. Take the reality of your situation to your own hands. If you don't like me as a customer, I won't come to your business. If you don't respect me as a voting body or a constituent, I won't vote for you. I will withhold my money from this whole system, this whole greedy, racist system to see you suffer, just so we have something in common. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, this is Sufyan. I mean, Sufyan, not sister, sorry. Well, here's my point, though. And I'm going to say this to the Muslims and the non-Muslims. I believe we got to start having some really honest conversation. I was on this interview today, and the brother who asked me the question, he said he wanted me to talk about how diligent the Muslims were in social justice and protests and things. And I said, huh? He said, in 2020, let's talk about how the Muslims stood up. And I said, hold on a minute, ho. You putting it like they were just Muslim in 2020. Not 2019, not 2018, not going all the way back to 1960, 1950. And I would implore all of us Muslims, look at the body of work for anybody that we deal with. Look at the body of work for anybody we deal with. This may be a stretch, and I may be wrong for saying it, but hell, I've been wrong before. When I look at politics, I look at Joe Biden, I look at Donald Trump, I look at Mitch McConnell, I look at a whole lot of these guys, Lindsey Graham, all of them, and I pull out a calculator. And I subtract their ages from 2020. And I look at them, and I search them for what they were doing in 1955. How they talked about black people, minority, and people of color, and women in 1960. And I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical because I realize that this behavior that they're showing now, that's what they were doing back then. That's what they were doing back then. They just have a platform. They have enough ill-minded, weak-minded people to support this situation. And the crazy part is that group of people supporting this situation, they're not a majority. They're just loud. So in 2021, we need to get loud. And I'm going to say this to some Muslims, I might upset you. Stop bandwagoning it. Stop bandwagoning it. If you see me in a fight, take your kufi off, turn your hijab to the side, and get in there and fight. Don't make dua for me. Get in there and fight. And I'm saying, brothers and sisters, you got to have some skin in the game. Don't tell me about a fight. You ain't got a cut. You ain't got a bruise. You know why? Because you don't know what I'm talking about. You're a visitor. You're a voyeur. Stop being visitors and voyeurs. Get in the game. Understand what it is. Zakat people, we want to donate to folks. Let me tell you something. Sit with the poor, in the words of Ubayla Evans. Don't just give them money. Sit with the poor. Learn their narrative. Learn how they survive. They're people. And all these folks that want to pass out money to folks, you know what? You're not God. You're not God. You're just folks pretending to be God because you got $600. Or you think you can tempt people with $2,000. Yes. Yes. Shame on you for playing on people's desperations. Shame on you for playing on people's pain. Shame on you for disadvantaging people. Why? Because you think it's going to get you the power. You don't care about the people. You care about the power. In Georgia, whether the Democrats win or whether the Republicans win, I don't care. Will the people of Georgia win? Will the people of the United States win? The world looks at us right now as a country that's lost its compass, its moral correctness. The fact that even in our worst time, there was a moral correctness and a moral voice that would say, hey, stop it. This is what we stand for. And in 2020, we lost that. We elected a guy who was a bed warmer for the devil. We elected politicians who were bed warmers for the devil. That's a bed warmers for the devil. Meaning you had strange, weird relationships with evil. You see, my thing, brothers and sisters, there's a difference between doing something wrong and doing something evil. Wrong is, okay, I made a mistake. Evil is, I made a mistake and I'm going to keep doing it because I think I can get away with it. Evil says, I don't look at the condition of anybody around me. I must be right. I must be correct. And everyone else has to be wrong. It's not that Donald Trump will go down as potentially one of the worst presidents ever, right? On that spot, I really don't blame him. All right, Mama Moss. You know, the culpability for Donald Trump is we knew who he was. We hoped he was going to be something different when he got in that White House. That's the same as taking a fire and giving it a can of kerosene and telling drink that. The fire blew out of control. And what folks fail to realize is, and I'll end on this, for one of the few times in my life, my adult life, I saw leadership operate in a way where God didn't count. Well, God didn't count. I saw a president who literally thought that he was the creator of mercy, the creator of justice. And his little minions ran around, bowing down and bending over, depending on who they were, to accept this, to make this thing a reality. Do you know the only reason this guy wanted to be reelected? It wasn't the power. It's because justice is going to catch up with him. Now, of course, you're thinking, New York City justice. God's justice is swift and unwavering. And maybe we need to think about things going on in society, because justice will correct those things too. And as much as we point the finger at Donald Trump, there's always 4 fingers, 3 fingers pointing back at us, saying, what is your moral basement? What is your moral foundation? And when we talk about these ideas of foundational injustice and things like that, stop fooling yourself. You're not the first one to talk about it. We've been kicking this thing down the road for years. Let me tell you how the tax cuts work. People make a tax cut, brothers and sisters, knowing that we can't pay for it. And the strategy is, it doesn't matter, because the money's going to come due 10 years from now, and there won't be enough. So we're going to take away from the futures of our children. You're going to take away from the opportunities to go to school. You're going to take for the opportunities to have infrastructure. You're going to take away from the opportunities for children to have hope. And they'll carry the debts of these no good SOBs, and it'll be all right. Because in 10 years, they won't be around. The crime of Donald Trump, brothers and sisters, is in 10 years, he'll be somewhere and he'll be old. And it won't matter, brothers and sisters, that he's right or wrong or convicted. He's just old. And here's the deal. You can't extract any justice out of that. It's already done. But what we can do is start acting just to one another. what we can do is in our spaces, let's practice compassion. In our spaces, let's practice responsibility and accountability. In our spaces, brothers and sisters, let's look at one another and have real conversation. In our spaces, let's speak the truth and stand on the truth. In our spaces. Because what I understand, brothers and sisters, what I understand is it can be done. The proof of the pudding will be in the African American Muslim experience here in the United States. The Dr. Martin Luther King experiment. The Nation of Islam experiment. Whereby in the heights of oppression, the NOI, particularly the women of the Nation of Islam, framed successful family life. Now people said, oh, it's hate speech. It wasn't hate speech. It was life speech. That a woman who wasn't fully even valued in the society in 1950, a woman told a man, get your act together, be a man, lead this family. That's Sister Claire Muhammad and Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Facts. Facts. Going all the way back to the Ahmadiyya movement. That they would create a just and moral society separate from the laws that oppressed them, separate from the mores that they thought were problematic. Drinking, gambling, dope, prostitution. They said, no, that's not for us. That's not for us. That's not what we believe. And they took that same thinking and turned it around and built a community. I'm going to say this in 2020, leading into 2021. I'm going to lead by example. But if it's not right, brothers and sisters, I will remove myself from these situations, from these organizations, and from these proclamations that don't benefit me and my brothers and sisters. And I will not, brothers and sisters, I will not let it go. So I'm done. I want to give a shout out from Sister Sultana. She said, blessed New Year's greeting to everyone. You know, I'd want a better 2021, if at all possible. I want it for me. I want it for you. And let's work towards it. A lot of lessons in 2020. Some good ones and some hard ones. But you know what? In the end, what's the blessing right here? The blessing is just like you, I'm still standing. Just like you, I got an opportunity to go out and make it better. Just an opportunity. And that's all we need. So in 2021, I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the opportunities to turn things around. Give us the insight, the humility to help one another, to guide one another, and to instruct one another when we don't know something. And the humility to say that I don't know, which is one of the most beautiful things in religion, to say I don't know, because it reaffirms that we are always in the process of learning. We are all students of knowledge. The greatest man in the world said, hey, when I wake up in the morning, I realize I don't know nothing. And I pray all of us get to wake up tomorrow morning and not know nothing. Why? Because we want to go out, we want to get information, and we just want today to be a little bit better than yesterday. Brothers and sisters, enjoy your Happy New Year's. I know some people say, hey, Preach, why didn't you have this show on at midnight? I'm going to tell you why. Because I'm a grown man, and I know fully that I was not going to make it at midnight. I ain't made the midnight in a lot of years, brothers and sisters. So, inshallah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you. That's another word. To everybody here on the show, thank you. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody.
Hey everybody, this is your brother Preacher Moss. Listen, I hope that you enjoyed your shout out show experience. We'll be back with the next show, the next shout out show. A simple ask before you go, please help your brother out. Click that subscribe button, click that notify button, and I'll see you again on this side of the microphone. You probably wonder what that smell is. That's me. I smell good. And the reason I smell good is because I use oils from ShOUT. So I'm not saying you can't smell good. I'm not even saying you stink. I'm saying you have the opportunity to smell exquisite. Check out ShOUT.com for some of the best oils and scents in town.